Hey, what's up? This is Kevin from Kevin's Barbecue Joints, and I'm going to keep this short and sweet because this one is with Robbie from City Limits Barbecue in West Columbia, South Carolina, and our conversations tend to get on the long side. So I just want to wrap up this intro and jump right into it. Talking to Robbie is always a pleasure. He's so insightful, he's so deliberate in his planning and his thought process. This really gives you a chance to see what he's thinking. His spot is a bucket list spot for me. I've been friends with him for a long time. I've watched his growth. He is a James Beard finalist for Best Chef Southeast. He is going this weekend. If you're watching this right now, he is going this weekend. If you're watching this after, you'll know the results. I'm wishing him the best luck. He's going there with his team. It's going to be a great experience for him. So at the beginning part of this interview, we discuss what that means to him, what that means to the restaurant, what that means to his mindset. And it's super interesting to hear what his thoughts are on that. We also go into the fact that he's open Saturdays and Sundays right now. Saturday full menu, and then there's a different menu on Sundays. He goes into depth on that, so that way you're aware of what you can get Saturday to Sunday. He talks about opening additional days. He talks about his unique location. This is just so great, and as I said, I cannot wait to visit him. I can't thank Robbie enough for taking the time. He's a busy, busy guy. So sit back, relax, enjoy this, and make sure to visit your local barbecue joint. And be sure to visit City Limits Barbecue in West Columbia, South Carolina. Hey, Robbie, it's nice to talk to you again. How are you doing?
Kevin, I am I'm doing awesome, but I'm also tired. How are you doing?
So, I am exactly the same way, but not for the same reasons. I'm so excited to talk to you. We've tried to, get this going back and forth, and when we talked a long time ago, and a lot of people really love that chat, and things have changed so much since that chat. So, what is going on in your world? And the elephant in the room. How are things since the James Beard nomination? And I believe in a few days you're going to, is it Chicago?
Yeah, well, how are things? Busy. Restaurant's busy. My brain, which never rests, is always going. Since that announcement, the way to describe how this has impacted us, we always had line between 11, 12:30, 1 o'clock. That's never been an issue or really too much of a challenge getting people to the restaurant. Lunch hours, people want to come in for lunch. And what the exposure from James Beard did is it extended the time into the afternoon that we had a line. And so early on, it would go past 3 o'clock. I think our craziest day, I think we pretty much had a line until 4. It's come back, a good bit since then. It's just like doing a pop up. Since we're not a normal restaurant, I wish we were. We're not a normal restaurant, but each week it's almost approaching it like a super big food truck. Hey, what kind of crowd do we think we're going to get this week? Do we have any interviews? Is there anything else in the press? Are we going to expect more people, less people? It's Mother's Day weekend. Who's going to bring their mom out to barbecue? And so each week it's just a crazy mental exercise of trying to figure out how do we execute what we do this weekend consistently with what we did the prior weekend and the weekend before. But we're finally heading to Chicago on Sunday. The awards are on Monday evening, and I went out and bought a tuxedo today. The price differential in buying it versus renting it. The accountant bringing him, he says, "Well, it's just a little bit more. Maybe you'll need it again." So now I've got my wedding and funeral suit for perpetuity. I had back when I decided to do this. I can't remember if we had talked about this before, but back when I decided to do this, and I was done with what I was doing. I gave away or threw away all of my suits
You never
except
told
for
me that.
one sports coat. Yeah, I'm mentally I was done. I was like, and I don't need this anymore because it wasn't that I was done in a particular place. I was done with that genre
That chapter.
of work. Yeah, I've still hung around, done the consulting work that didn't require me dressing up like that. But I gave up all that stuff, and that was I think 7 years ago, 8 years ago. I trashed all that, so I had to go out and shop for a suit for the first time in a long time. But anyway, we're going up there on Sunday. And I think last weekend, we're kind of going through another change period that when we spoke several months ago, this was all fresh and new. And, I've learned a lot about the process. I've learned a lot about making sure that we put out good, consistent food. With this, the way that it works is that there's a secret judging period. And I don't know if there's one judge. I don't know if there are multiple judges. I don't know if it's one judge that comes back multiple times. And then the other part of it is I've spoken to a lot of people. Nobody I spoke to I spoke to some connected people. Nobody has any idea how in the world they're going to compare us to these other fine dining places. Chubby Fish, many of the people who are going to watch this are familiar with Chubby Fish because it's the place. Chubby Fish is one of the other finalists. James London, incredible chef. James actually worked in a barbecue restaurant up in Clemson.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Around the corner from Dylan at Fort Grove back when he was in high school.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, James runs Chubby Fish. He's the chef there. They are a dot to table, fresh fish every day, comes in, new menu every time they open. I mean, that's crazy. I don't know how you compare what he's doing to us. And so
I don't know at all.
The stress over the last 4 months has been, I don't know what we can do different, but I do know what we can do is just to be consistent with what we do, because apparently that's what caught people's eyes to begin with. And so part of that weekly mental exercise is not getting out too far over the skis. And, we've brought on a handful of new things onto the menu. Some things come on for a few weeks at a time, but we haven't done anything drastic like opened on a Thursday, for example. The logistics of opening another day up to this point have just been too much, considering we were in that judging period. And, I didn't want to roll out a new day and have a slightly different menu for that day. And for somebody to come in and say, for example, if I started doing Kansas City baby back ribs, for them to come in and, maybe I haven't dialed them in as much as I would have wanted to, and them having not the experience that I wanted. So all that being said, this past weekend, I think we're finally, in the clear with the judging. It's almost like and again, I'm not complaining. People would kill to be in my shoes, but it's been stressful, and it's been a bit of the boot on the throat, for the last couple months. Just the stress, we got to execute, and now I feel like that stress is kind of subsided, and now it's time to grow the restaurant, because up to this point, the last, at least before the beer thing, we're only open 9 hours a week. For us to have survived just doing that, that's pretty awesome. But the reality is we need to be open way more than 9 hours a week. And that being said, we are going to open more hours here in the coming weeks, now that I feel like we're in a safe period. And so,
are you finding that different people are coming that have heard about this that weren't in your lines before?
Yeah. It's cool. I've mentioned this somewhere before. You have this idea, this vision, when you're in the early stages of this, and you have that unbridled enthusiasm on all the upside of, what could you create, what could you do? And back to day one, if I could figure out how to cook it, that's step one. Then number two was, can we figure out how to sell it in volume? And then that dovetails into, what could this be? If we could figure out how to do what I wanted to do, I mean, we should have a destination barbecue place. And that's not something you just go out and create, magic. Maybe somebody's done that and I'm not aware, but I think you have to have some magic and some luck involved for that to occur. A great article written up in somewhere, or an interview somewhere gets published, and you catch eyes in it. What's happened, I would say it really kicked off with Daniel's visit last fall. That's what I really point to as the starting of the snowball effect of famous writers and other personalities coming in they post gets more eyeballs on it. And those eyeballs are not concentrated, hyper local here. Those eyeballs are all over the country. And so the people coming in I hope nobody does this. We haven't had like a pure, I'm traveling to Columbia or West Columbia, South Carolina to eat at City Limits, like some people would have done with Franklin or Snows. People have made trips specifically to eat there. There's not much else to do around here. So if you come, you find something else to do, like go to Charleston for the day and come back for lunch. But we are getting a lot of people passing through who are Googling, good barbecue in Columbia. And when they see the reviews and they see all these articles, and then there are some people a lot of people don't understand or know what James Beard is or what it means. And I was one of those people before I did the barbecue. I'd heard of it before, but I didn't really understand what it is. Now, I'm kind of an expert in knowing what it is. But there are people who have made trips specifically because of the James Beard thing up from Charleston or down from Charlotte. And so, it's just another feather in the cap of exposure that brings a slightly different person in to experience it. And the feedback. I was telling somebody earlier today, people are usually fairly gracious with comments, and part of the challenge, some young kid or somebody that's new to this. And I've told people over the years, you've got to figure out a way to get people to tell you the truth, because it's not going to serve you at all to overinflate your ego, because in general people are kind and try to show you some grace. Hey, it was good. Oh man, I'm so full. It was so delicious. It tastes better than my brother's. And he's got pellet grill. So having done this for 8-9 years, going on 9 now, you kind of feel when somebody's being kind, but when you get out of the norm comments of describing their experience, that tells me we're still doing good. And then, correlate that with some of these people that are foodie in the foodie spectrum. I still think we're doing good. I think we have a chance, but I'm really trying really hard not to get my hopes up, because the reality is there's only been 2 pit masters who have ever won in a chef category, Roddy Scott and Franklin. And so, this is an analogy I gave somebody was it's like the kicker winning the Super Bowl MVP. Maybe it could happen. Some dude kicks 15 field goals and wins it. Buzzer beater. Maybe he gets an MVP. But the reality is it's probably not going to happen. I hope it does, but probably not going to happen. So I'm going up there to almost like a interview, meet a whole bunch of people, see what kind of doors open up, more exposure,
to be
TV
surrounded
shows
by a lot of people that cook at a high level and that are interested in eating food that is cooked at a high level. I didn't think about that aspect, that kind of going to a convention or going to a major interview. Yeah, that's true.
And definitely want to point out, I've learned a little bit more about the other finalists in our category. And, I mentioned James London from Chubby Fish. Oh, and the point I was going to make with that is when some of the Texas guys or other guys from around the country, I think the Moosecraft crew have even eaten it. I think they may have eaten at Chubby Fish also. So a lot of those guys from Texas actually know about Chubby Fish, because whenever they've come in for Charleston Food and Wine or the Holy Smokes Festival.
That's why I know the name, because one of those guys or multiple.
Yes. The chefs that are in Atlanta, there's a guy that's in Washington, North Carolina. There's another guy up in Charleston, West Virginia. All these guys are incredibly accomplished chefs and all passionate about what they do. So, it's going to be interesting. And I made a post a week or so ago, and I stand firm with this, is that, nobody loses. When I don't win, what I'm going to do, because this is the way I used to always do my social media shtick, is, we tied for second place. That's what the beer people told me. We tied for second place. We weren't last in our thing, but if we don't win, that doesn't mean that we lost by any stretch. It just meant that whoever won, they just killed it. Their star shined brighter than everybody else's whoever it was, or however often they went there. They had to have just crushed it. So I'm excited to go up there. I used to live up in Chicago, and man, I love living up there. My wife and I, we even thought about moving up there. As crazy as I was, a lot of people flowing out of Chicago, but the people up there are super nice. There's parts of town you don't want to go hang out in the suburbs where we live, man. I mean, it's Midwest. I mean, Midwesterners are like Southerners, and I guess probably like a lot of people around the world. They're all nice. So anyway,
there's a vibrance to Chicago. There's a pride for Chicago that people have that a lot of places in the United States don't have. It's a special place. So I'm excited that you even get a chance to just go and visit and refresh it. But before we talk, because I want to know too, like how it's affected you, or how all of this from opening day has affected you and made you feel more confident as a cook, as an owner, as a restaurateur. But before I forget, and I don't ask you, what days are you open? What times are people getting there? What is it? What's the experience like for people? So, because a lot of people watch these from even outside the United States now, I'm finding a lot of people. So what is it like to visit City Limits, and what should people expect time-wise?
So as of right now, this is the first week of June, I believe. As of right now, we're only open Saturday and Sunday. Saturday 11 to 5, Sunday 12 to 3. We do separate or different menus. Only 10% of the menu is the same Saturday and Sunday. Saturday is our full barbecue menu, and I describe that to people as our James Beard menu. We're cooking as much as we can from scratch, traditional cook methods with the Texas barbecue, and we also cook traditional cook methods, Carolina barbecue. Then Sunday, we call it No Limit Sunday or Freestyle Sunday. The menu is different. We make house-made hot dogs. Ben's in the back right now, kicking out a batch of our all brisket hot dogs.
Wow.
It's another way that we drowning in brisket trim. You got to figure out ways to get rid of this brisket trim. So we sell a good many hot dogs on Sunday. We do slaw dogs and chili dogs out. I'm using our chili brisket repurposed, and also our sweet jalapeno slaw. We do a pretty solid smoked pork belly banh mi, and we do different pork ribs Saturday and Sunday. We do Carolina ribs on Saturday. Those are direct cooked over coals. And then on Sunday, we do a Texas style rib, which is the indirect with sweet sauce, salt, pepper, a little bit of seasoned salt. Pork steaks. We just started doing pork steaks because I just got that Syntex Low Country cooker, a month ago now.
Seems like
Yeah. So let me finish about the hours, and I'll get into that real quick. So that's a cool story.
Yeah.
Sunday, we're open 12 to 3. I call it our free, No Limits Freestyle, but I call it our Triple D menu. So I like to describe that Saturday is James Beard. Sunday is Triple D. I do want to get on Triple D. That's been a goal. The Triple D's been a goal as long as the James Beard has been a goal. The James Beard thing was an unrealistic goal. And I thought Triple D, if I can come up with some really good sandwiches, there's only so many fish in the barrel around here. So it's like, we got to catch their attention. So, I mean, now I hope that I'm on their radar. And hopefully I run into a producer up in Chicago and figure out how to get them in here. Okay, so different menus both days, and there's multiple reasons for that. Maybe let's give somebody out there some ideas on how they want to do their thing. Is that our Saturday menu, the price points are pretty high. We got brisket and beef rib, and your average ticket it's pretty solid. It's comparable to being in Texas. The problem is we're in West Columbia, South Carolina. The disposable income is different. There's poor people everywhere. There's rich people everywhere. But here in West Columbia, we don't have as many rich people or people that don't care how much it costs. They just want good food. We've got a lot of those. I wish we had more, but it's not like being in Houston where you can just, you kick out a really solid product. People are going to come and buy it. But Sunday, the menu the pricing strategy of what we have on there is you can walk out of here at about a third of the total ticket cost of what you would walk out of here on Saturday. And so it's still a City Limits experience, but it's different food. I've always thought, man, it'd be cool. We get Triple D in here, get the whole half hour, first 15 minutes is Saturday, next 15 minutes is Sunday. But one of the things that we recently added were the pork steaks. That's one of many menu items that, as I've been on this journey, the very first thing that was like, wow, was when I decided to do this and I cooked a chuck plate rib, which, as we know, that's the 4-bone rack, not the 3-bone dino bone rack. But that was all that I could find. Nobody had them around here. And so I cooked it and I was like, wow, I'd never had beef rib before. And I was like, wow, if I can figure out how to cook this, this is going to be awesome. And I've had a handful of those bites over the years. Sam Jones chopped pork with the crispy skins was one of those bites. Tootsie's pork steak was one of those bites, because around here, head scratcher. I've asked people who know barbecue history, and I'm not sure if anybody has like a really good reason why we are a pork state here in South Carolina. Why pork steaks were never a thing. I've been wanting to do that for a long time, and but the cooker that I had modified to cook our Carolina pork directly over coals, it really wasn't. I was stretching it to the limit doing what I was doing with the pulled pork and the pork ribs, but in the pork steak, I wasn't going to be able to execute it. But speaking with Michael from Syntex, and great guy, man. Yeah, we had a couple long conversations, and ended up he had one coming back into the shop, and said, I'll take it. So I went out there, picked it up. Seems like about a month ago. Brought it back, and I was hell bent. Like, I'm going to figure out these pork steaks ASAP. And I'd cooked them before, so it wasn't like I just started cooking them. So I've cooked them before, and that first one, just had a small correction in how I was going to do it, and then from there, we hit the ground running. And man, it is. If you've had a good pork steak before, you understand. It's like, wow, this is really good. And so, what's really cool, and this has happened with so many menu items, people that haven't had some of this stuff, and particularly pork steak, because it's the most recent thing, and people come back up to the counter, or they come back the next week and say, Robbie, that pork steak, man, that was out of this world. And I agree. It's like, I know, right? I was like, that's why I'm cooking it. It's like, it's freaking delicious, dude. So Saturday and Sunday, and now that the beard thing is over, I think we're going to add on Friday, and that's going to be yet another menu, more like a guy, bro, leave work early on Friday type menu. Come up, baskets with French fries. This property is such a something. We're not going to put a fryer in the kitchen. I think I'm just going to get a little propane fryer for the smokehouse, and so we're going to do French fries and do little baskets, and try to get guys in here, and girls, I guess, if they want, to come in for start the weekend early, get a sandwich or some ribs with some fries, go have a couple beers, and get on your way. And so hopefully that opens the door to us adding yet another day, which I've been working on, trying to get Sunday morning going. Tacos and kolaches. Tacos are 95% where I want them. And we're still working on the kolaches. And so we're not, like with a lot of things, we're not going to do that until, we get it figured out. I don't do hey, let's do it, see what happens. 'Cause that's the old adage, your last bite,
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, that's what's going on with our hours.
Can you rewind to what a pork steak is? Because I've talked to a lot of people about pork steaks. I've had them. I love them, but people don't know what pork steaks are. So can you describe a pork steak?
Yes. So pork steak is the shoulder butt. And as we know, the shoulder butt is the front shoulder, not the butt. That's the ham. I think. I hope I'm right.
I think you're right. Yes, I think so.
Um,
Between us, for
uh,
right.
I was very wrong about something I posted the other day, and I was like, and a really famous person didn't catch it either, and they were messaging back and forth, and I was like, oh,
That's
I
so
got to
funny.
delete that post. Oh my god, I am such a dumbass sometimes.
That's
But
hilarious.
anyway, so the pork steak is cut off the shoulder, so you get a whole shoulder. You can use a boneless, but a bone in seems to keep it together better. And so the pork steaks that I'm cutting are about 1.5 inches. You literally cut it into about 4 steaks, an average size shoulder. The shoulders that you get in a grocery store are typically going to be 20-30% smaller than the shoulders that we'll get in at the restaurant. And so we can get 3 to 4 steaks out of that. And you don't do any trimming on it. You leave the fat cap on it. One in. It's almost, it's eerily similar to a ribeye because you got the ribeye cap, which is, the best part. And so, the ribeye cap's only on part of the ribeye. Pork steak, kind of similar, where you have the money muscle on one side and then the bone and the other protein components on the other side. The way that it happens to cook is that you got the bone on this side and then there's the money muscle down there. And so the way that we present it when we cut it is that will go ahead and slice up to the bone. And usually, this is, restaurant trick, restaurateur or chef trick, that first bite that they're getting is the money muscle. And hopefully you'll get a little bit of the fat. And hopefully, if we've done it right, some of that fat has got some of that direct heat action on it, and that's where you get that charbroiled steak, that charbroiled ribeye-esque char flavor on that fat. And so all those things coming together, the tenderness, the direct cook flavor of that fat having just a little bit of char on it. And then at the same time, the way my mind thinks about it is, I don't understand how it's this tender. It's a shoulder, and it only cooked for like 3 hours.
Mhm.
And normally you're cooking a shoulder for 10, 14 hours trying to get it tender all the way through. But these things only take a little bit of time, and they're really good. Downside is that they're a little pricey because normally this shoulder is going to be converted over to 4 or 5 pounds of pulled pork. And so that's half a pound on average serving per person. So you're looking at 10 to 12 servings for that shoulder. Well, if we're only cutting 4 steaks out of it, I still got to get the same revenue out of it. So the price point can be a little strong. I hate that. And I'm going to see if I can find some local butchers to cut them cheaper for us. Because funny story. I was sick or hurt. I was in the hospital or not hospital. I had that x-ray a couple weeks ago.
I remember seeing it.
Oh man. So it was
I'm smiling. I should be smiling while I'm saying that. Yeah.
It was from cutting pork steaks. So I don't have like a bone saw, and so I went out and got a hacksaw that Saturday. The Saturday before I went to go see the doctor, I've already got pretty bad arthritis, pretty much. Well, let me rephrase that. I've got arthritis in most of my joints, and if I do a lot of work on something, I'm not feeling good the next couple of days. Yeah, just sucks getting old.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I had the hacksaw, and I did like 6 or 8 shoulders, and it's not like you can if you're out in the woods with a bow saw, like let the saw do the work. Nah, man, this thing you had to bulldog it to get through that, and I bulldog it too hard. And that following Thursday, the pain was so bad in my shoulder, I almost was nauseous, sick, and I was like, I don't ever go see the doctor. I think I've got to go see the doctor about this, and my back was killing me, and so got some good stuff and got back to work. I wised up the next Saturday, and I had one of my guys cut him. He'll laugh if he sees this now. They were a little jacked up. And so this past Saturday, I took back control of cutting him, but my brother actually found a sawzall, a bone blade for a sawzall, and that actually worked so well. We almost cut the dang cutting board in half, and so we're going to have to yet again figure out another way to do this. But anyway, yeah, I forgot that we had messaged around that time, and I honestly don't go to the doctor, and for me to have gone to the doctor is like the appendix. I was about to die in my truck with the smokers full, and I was like, man, I think I gotta go to the hospital, man. I can't do this. And we had sold so much food for Saturday. It's like, well, damn. Okay. Anyway,
Did you have your appendix removed? I don't think I do this.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think maybe I did. Maybe it was something that we had talked about. Or I think we're around the same age. You're a little bit younger than me, right?
Yeah, I'm a little bit younger in age, but I'll put money on it that physically I'm in my mid-70s.
Yeah, at times I think I am too, but it really, I don't think about, like, I'm in my mind, I'm still 27 to 35. Like, I think mentally, I think I'm astute and I could figure it, but physically, yeah, there's things that just definitely tell you, hey, you're getting older. So just,
hey, Kevin, that's something that in all the interviews I've done, something that hasn't come up before, but something, I don't want to call it a secret of my success. If anything, it's a huge flaw that physically my body protests every day. I wake up, my back's killing me. But once I get going, the back pain goes away. And when I saw the doctor a couple of weeks ago, he said, we don't see anything right now. So, let's just stay in touch this time. Don't just, fall off the radar. What gets me going is I have this ridiculous, this residual image or mind thought that I'm in my late 20s with what I think I can do and the optimism that I have in doing it, that sometimes I guess there's a little bit of foolishness with me thinking that I can still do stuff. But, pretty much every day I wake up thinking, maybe a better way to explain this. When I'm talking to somebody, I'm talking to them usually as if like if I'm talking to somebody, maybe not so much on this interview since I know you, but if I'm talking to somebody who's in line, who's obviously around the same age as me, in my mind, I'm young Robbie. Talking to them, and always being courteous, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, and being respectful of them. Not, I'm an old dude, which I guess now I'm 50. Some of these people coming in here, I'm way older than them. But there's something about having this young outlook or this young mindset to wake up, say, hey, got to go do that, versus me thinking, why don't I go get somebody else to do that? Yeah. And I hope I keep that. I don't want to think about getting old.
Yeah, no, I don't either. I think we're kindred spirits in that sense, because I definitely have that same mindset, especially when I talk to, and even when I talk to people that are in that age group, I talk to them like I'm their age. And then I leave sometimes and go, oh man, they said some things that they're younger than me. I can tell for sure. People are lining up because you open at 11 on Saturdays. Are people come in 8-ish, 9-ish? Like what
yeah.
Kind of.
Yes. So I didn't give you the experience thing. So the last couple of weeks, we've had people pulling up like at 9:00, 9:30. We don't get crazy early people here. Sunday, we had people here tailgating at like 10:30. They know they didn't need to get here that early. Kind of Garen on the East Coast, Garen up at John G's is the king of Texas barbecue experience. It is crazy. People like come out there like knowing they're going to be waiting for like 3 hours, and they have a good old time sitting in the sun. And here we just don't get those people. I think that if we had more of those people, that then it would become a situation where people like, well, those weirdos are going to be there at. There's going to be 50 people in line, so we might as well go ahead and go out there. So we don't have that, but we do get some, and these are regular customers. They're not new people. I got regular customers who will consistently get up here about 10 in the morning just so that they can be at the front of the line. You know, we got good music on. Luckily, we have a covered breezeway where most of the people in line can stand. And from what I understand from a lot of my regular customers who tells me what goes on the line is that we have a good dispersion of regular VIP people who understand us, you know, standing around or dispersed throughout the line, where you got somebody that's new, that's obviously uncomfortable, like, and they're explaining, you know, restrooms upstairs. And if you're thirsty, you can go inside and grab something out of the cooler. You know, I've put out a note out front so that people could calculate a estimated wait time based off of how many people they see in line. So, you know, it's kind of a normal, for whatever normal is, it's kind of a normal Texas barbecue experience where, you know, if it's good, people are going to line up, assuming it's good. But, you know, people are going to line up.
Oh, Robbie, it's good.
You know, when I go back to Houston and I go to Truth Barbecue, I go up there. Yeah, I'm going to be waiting in line for 30, 45 minutes. And if I rolled up there and there wasn't a line, I'm like, what the hell is going on today? I'm late. They already sold out. It's like, damn. And so, one of the things that's been challenging to manage, Kevin, is I don't want to sell out of food because we need to generate revenue all the hours. So we're going to, and there's so much time and energy that goes into opening up on Saturday. It's not like we could just open on Friday and do the same. It takes 3 days of prep and cooking to get open on Saturday. And so it's easy. In West Columbia, South Carolina, it's not as easy as a lot of people may realize, to just open up that extra day. And so what I've tried, or what I've worked really hard on, is maintaining food throughout the entire afternoon. I only post information about stuff being sold out so that I can avoid people coming up here expecting something and not seeing it. So it's, I think that you can go back into the history since we've had this restaurant here. I think maybe only once or twice that I've posted this sold out, you know, like old school from the food truck. But that was really because I didn't want more people coming up here and walking away empty-handed. So from a business, what I've been trying to do is to make sure that we have proteins at least until 5 o'clock, so that people, and there's people who this is working with, that they know that they don't have to come up here and stand in line, that they can come in here at 2 o'clock and it'll be a much shorter line, or they can roll in here about 4:30 and grab some early dinner stuff because they know, or they should be comfortable with me having food. And that's again, huge. Taking a step back from running a business, we're only open 9 hours a week. It's not like I can flip a switch and be open on Wednesday and generate, you know, more revenue. So we've got to milk Saturday for everything that we can. But the other part of that is ensuring that person showing up at 5 o'clock gets the same quality bite that they got at 11 o'clock. And I'm very comfortable with what we have. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, if it's being sold, it's as good as it was at 11.
And people would probably wonder, which I don't think you do, but there's no online ordering. Can you call and pre-order, or is that everything is ordered on the spot?
Everything is walk up on occasion. You know, if we get a big order like, you know, $500,000 plus, I'll do those. But logistically, and this is what, you know, I say this often, if somebody's out there listening and watching this, Kevin, so many people, pitmasters, you know, small pop-ups have come up and said, man, I love the Kevin interview, man, so much good stuff in there. So good stuff, you know. I'm glad that we went on those marathon interviews because I think people appreciated what we were talking about. So the problem that we have, if I had unlimited capital and I could afford a whole bunch of redundant or extra warmers, I probably would, allow phone in, or even do the pre-orders so that we could physically separate that food. But the reality is our warmers and at times our refrigerators Saturday morning before we open are literally completely packed. And so the logistical challenge is that if I had 10 orders for 10 different menu items and they were picking up all throughout the day, it sounds pretty easy. Well, just don't sell X amount of this. But
No, it's different.
When you have a crazy ass line out the door, and crazy stuff happens during the service, which always happens, I'm not always there micromanaging, every single aspect of every single, at times we got 1, 2, 3, 4 to 5 guys working, proteins and sides, it's not as easy as you may think. So, I mean, some people got to figure it out. Good for them. But for us, for our little rinky dink shop, we just don't have the capacity to segregate that out because in all these years, and we've done a lot of pre-order stuff, in all these years, we have never accidentally sold somebody's food and had somebody come up and us saying, hey, sorry. One person, one time, we shorted them a macaroni because that's a long story, but that was 6 years ago. But otherwise, we haven't done that because I don't have the entrepreneurial balls to just make it happen. Because
that's
I'm more
also
concerned.
a terrible feeling. That's a horrible feeling too.
Yeah, and that goes 100% against what I think is what goes to our success, and that's the customer interaction. People are not coming here because of the line and because of the prices. People are not coming here to get a quick bite. They're coming here for good food and for the experience and for something that they can't get anywhere else. And all involved in that is the customer experience that we, and my guys know this, and my girls crew, they notice that, each person comes in. I don't care who they are. I do want people to check whatever agendas they got. Check it at the street, leave it in the car, come inside in your family. And it's that connection with people that I think has been a huge contributor to our continued success. Because the James Beard and the other publicity, that gets people in the door. That doesn't serve them a good bite, and that doesn't provide them customer service. So those are just opportunities to get people in here to see that. What I say, hey, how you doing? We are trying to make a legitimate engagement with them, and do a little small talk, not make them to make it more than just a transactional, situation. And I think most people coming through dig that, and they appreciate that. I mean, we still get people who are too hell bent on just getting fed, and or people who are hell bent that barbecue should be a value proposition, and quality is secondary to it being cheap. And they come through, and I think they realize, well, I ain't coming here again.
Like, came in the wrong place.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah.
The restaurant has been a work in progress from day one. How far along do you feel the restaurant is? Like, because there's been lots of construction. There's been a lot of hiccups and hurdles. How has that been, and how far along are you? Do you feel like you're almost to the point where you're happy with it? Or?
I think so what makes us challenging getting it the way that I want it is we just don't have buckets of cash or capital laying around. So, it's been, pretty much, I guess, bootstrap is the technical term that,
I think so.
Pretty much everything gets reinvested into fixing stuff here. We had a thunderstorm roll through before you call. We still got roof leaks. Literally, depending on which direction the storm blows in, we'll have different leaks throughout the building. We had 2.5 AC units, so 2 that work and one that didn't work. And that's what I call it in half. So about 4 weeks ago, we installed a mini split unit in here that helped because we're trying to. There's a huge list of stuff that needs to be done to make this more conducive, more like a normal restaurant. And the reality is that there's so much going on a weekly basis that we're handling problems as they present themselves and/or seasonal challenges. So last summer we didn't have the dining room open, so we had the upstairs deck outside, but I'm in the dining room right now. We didn't have it open because we had the huge electrical issues in here, which we finally got fixed around November. All last summer, our little service room where we have all the equipment and we do the cutting, there was one little window unit in there, and it wasn't comfortable on the hot days, but since we didn't have people seated in there, it was bearable for the customers, and it was at times miserable for us. But now we have heat coming in, and so one of the things we had to do was, I had to invest in that AC unit to cool it off a little bit. And what we learned is that even though it was a pretty good BTU unit, is that with all the warmers and the steam wells and the heat lamps, it's not enough BTU. So now we're figuring out some sort of venting system, because we know that it's not the heat heating up the building and radiating through. What we know is that the problem that we have is that we're creating so much heat from all of our appliances that we just need to figure out a way to port that heat, with a little fan somehow to suck it out to another room, and then probably save us 5-7 degrees of cooling temps. So, what are we doing with the restaurant is we're dealing with problems as they present themselves, and when we don't have a problem to deal with, we're going back to the list of, well, what do we need to do? Like in this dining room, putting in 2 more picnic tables has been on the list for weeks, but time just hasn't presented itself. What's the other thing? March. Yeah, like a little beer cave. I mean, this is stuff out of left field. On a Sunday afternoon, like luckily it was at 3:00. I look down and say, wait, what? The whole floor was swarming with termites. I was like, and so, we a ton of bug spray. And so the way that building was configured, it's a metal frame building, but they added on a 15-by-6 room, which now we use as our beer cave. And that's where we have the map, and that's where you get sodas and merchandise. And but it was a wood frame add-on, and the termites had eaten up half of it. So following week, we painter draped the room, duct taped it so that the termites wouldn't come into the service room. And then that following Monday, my brother and I, mostly my brother, we just bulldogged it, and literally we took it down past, the term is took it down to studs. We had to take it down past the studs and rebuild the whole damn frame of the side of the room. And okay, good. And we did we did the research. We went out, we got our own termite treatment stuff. So we dug a big ass hole. We pumped the termite crap down into the ground. We did the whole service ourselves, because, too cheap. And then the money is being saved up for the AC unit and the smoker and the new refrigerators that we got. And so we got it rebuilt. Brother and I high-fived, and the next week they came back. I was like, oh shit. And so it was even worse on the other side of the room. So the next week, we rebuilt the entire other side of that part of the building, took it down, reframed it, relaid the floor in it. And what was funny, my wife, Blair, that Saturday when they came back out the storm. Because what was happening was in springtime here in the South, um, termites will swarm once it starts getting warm, and so that's what was happening is they were swarming, and when the other side started to swarm, they started coming out. We thought that we had nuked them pretty good to get us through the weekend before we did the rebuild. So we just lay down a hell of a lot of bug kill, all kinds of stuff, and so they started coming out in the middle of service. So in the middle of service, we taped up the painter drape again, and actually it only on the half of the room that had the termites. So the good side of the room, it was usable. But so Blair taped herself in to a like a 3x3 area with like her home remedy bug kill spray and some napkins. And so she couldn't see anybody because it was translucent, painter plastic. But there was a window to the outside, and I'm working out in the pit room, and I have a direct line of sight to Blair, and like she's in there, completely miserable because she's like, when she would see a termite, she's more terrified. I'd be petrified if somebody saw a bug in here, like, oh, they got bugs.
Yeah.
We're right beside a forest. Like the forest is literally touching the building. It's not even, it's literally touching. And so I'm surprised you don't have more critters in here. But anyway, it was a funny scene reliving that, because it was funny how she was stuck in there in the middle of our service for like an hour and a half, just killing termites as they came out of the woodwork. And I think they finally got the message, like, let's wait till after service before we come back out.
This lady.
Anyway.
What is your wife? How do they feel about all of this?
They're cool with it. I mean, they understand the hard work that goes into it, and they understand the gravity of the recognition and how cool it is. My daughter just graduated high school last week, and so she's heading off to school in the fall in August, and she's been the cashier our cashier. She's been our cashier since she was 10 on the food truck. And
wow,
it's I don't know how I'm going to replace her yet. What was cool about the early days, because when we were slow, remember this doesn't happen overnight. For people watching this, we were slow. We had a lot of good time in the trailer. We'd go hours, 2 hours sometimes, with a warmer full of food than nobody, buying it. So we had some good talks there, and I hope that, and I always hope that I taught her good lessons about dealing with people, engaging with people, how important it is to engage with people. Taught her that there are weird people that don't make sense. Because some people live in a bubble where we're at. You're in a big city, so I don't know about LA, but when I'm in Chicago, you got to keep your head on a swivel. When I worked in New York, you got to keep your head on a swivel because there are weird people, or people that you need to be aware of, and so that there is kind of a bubble down here, and I hope that this experience for her, gets her ahead of her peer. I'm sure she's ahead of her peers of understanding a little bit more about life and people, but also running a business. She's probably seen a lot of things not to do.
That's life. Those are the important lessons.
And so, that's going to be a big change for us, figuring out her. Blair helps out a lot. Henry is kind of cheerleader, greeter. We don't have a good job for him yet. One cool thing with the James Beard thing, there's an age restriction on attending the red carpet and the ceremony, and I think it may be 21, and Millie's just 17, and they actually gave us a special permission that she can attend. So Millie's going to be on the red carpet with me. So the whole team is going to, just about the whole team is going to go up to Chicago. We're closing this Sunday. I'm driving, since I've got 2 extra humans that are going with me, and I can't afford I'm not going to pay for their fare. So I'm just going to drive.
Yeah.
All the guys, they're going to fly up there Sunday. We're going to go to the award ceremony on Monday, and at the award ceremony, the red carpet event that only the nominee and plus one get to do that. So Millie's going to go with me
Ah,
to that, and then the guys and us will all be sitting together, hopefully, and we'll see what happens. And you
so
know
excited.
what? If we don't win, I hope that I drink enough that we make the news somehow, some way. We'll go just rip up the town.
But it's so good, and it's an unbelievable experience, and it's something a lot of people, like most people, don't get a chance to experience. And it's such a when I tried to put my brain around the whole James Beard experience, I don't even know what to think of it. And like you said, I didn't think about it a lot until maybe 10 years ago, once I started to hear more about it, know more about it. But I'd heard the term, but I really didn't understand it and how special it is. And I think that this process has helped you, and I'm sure that it helps, validate all these years of hard work, in as much as, when you get up in the morning and go to work, you're a James Beard nominated barbecue joint, and you're doing something right. And maybe you're not doing everything right, but you're doing something right. And you're trying your
Yeah,
best to do everything right. It's got to be something in your soul that's like a little bit like it's fed a certain portion of you that was satiated.
yeah, yep. And that's a good quick. We'll see how quick this is. There's definitely imposter syndrome with this. In my research, I wanted to go back and learn about the other finalists, but also learn more about some of the other chefs. In particular, I wanted to watch Rodney's acceptance speech, just because I'm sure that he said some pretty good stuff, and I wanted to hear what he had to say. But I came across this other one, and this chef who was also a writer, and this was in 2018. And sorry, I don't remember her name, but she said the two most nerve wracking or terrifying things a chef can hear is, number one, chef, the health department is here, and number two was, chef, you've been nominated for a James Beard Award. And I guess you don't know until you've been nominated. And I guess it also depends on how serious you may take it. But I took it very serious. I've definitely been humbled, but I still have this imposter syndrome that I know that we cook out or put out really good food. It's definitely humbling to have received this recognition, that the stars align. You talked about earlier. I really think that that really started snowballing once Daniel had come in, and then the writers who came in subsequently, and the interactions that I had with them, I could tell that they had some really good food, and just what's been difficult is trying to compute or make sense, because it's not me up against a whole bunch of pit masters. If it was me versus four other pit masters, this would be completely different. But this is me against four. Actually, it's technically five, because Talent in Atlanta, the two chefs were nominated for best chef from the same place. So it's technically four other people, but it's different.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost apples and oranges, but over the last few months, it's been so super cool. Oh man, I can't believe I almost forgot to mention this. I've got to mention this. It's been super cool. All of the people that I told you that watched the Kevin's Barbecue Joint interviews are generally these same people that tell me, win it for us. If there's one thing I want a platform to go up there and say if I happen to win, and I hope that if I do, I hope that I don't blank out and forget this, is to somehow convey that if you are the pop-up barbecue guy, or if you're just, it doesn't matter what food it is. If you're doing pop-ups, if you're a food truck, not a lot of people understand how hard the work is. A barbecue food truck is a different game than, I'm not trying to belittle just a regular food truck. A barbecue food truck doesn't just throw some French fries in the freezer and make sure that there's enough oil in the fryer when they roll out to the flea market on Saturday. The barbecue food truck's probably been working at least 4 days on all the stuff, trying to get everything cooked and rolled out. And you haven't made a money. You haven't made a dime yet, and you're exhausted, and you hope the people show up to buy the food. Some days they do, some days they don't. And the biggest thing you got to do is to have enough resolve to know that if what you're doing is good or good enough or what you want to do, to not give up. That being said, give up when you need to give up, but don't give up so long as there's opportunity before you that just requires a little bit more hustle. And I think we talked about this before. I've wanted to give up a lot over the years, and I came close multiple times. And compartmentalize those thoughts, put it to bed, rest on it, wake up the next day. And luckily for me, usually when I wake up, the wind's at my back again. And that's that youthful mindset. Like, well, I'm going to figure out how to cook baby back ribs today. So I'm going to run up to the store. I'm going to figure out how to do it. Damn it. And then I'm going to figure out how to make them really good. And I'm going to figure out how to get people fighting each other, trying to get in line to get them. So I wanted to point out that I hope I have the opportunity to recognize all these people who have come up to me over the last few months and said, man, I'm rooting for you. Man, I dig what you've done, what you're doing. Saw the Kevin interview, and we're rooting for, and you can tell that they're being serious. So that's it.
I'm rooting for you too, and it's a privilege being friends with you, and I'm honored that you share so much with us during these interviews. I love it, and I just hope you're able to be present the whole time there. Once you start drinking, that changes things a little bit. But I want you to be, because that's something. This is a once in a lifetime, maybe multiple lifetime, but it's also something that, it's very special. And I can't wait to talk to you after this. Maybe we try to have a half an hour little recap after this, but thank you so much.
One other little tidbit. I've gotten dozens of these RSVP invite things, all these pre-parties and after parties and all that stuff. And be honest, I'm not going to have energy to go out and party anywhere, but we've invited to in all kinds of crazy things. And one of them is like, a wine party at like noon the day of, like, who the hell is going out to, because the event's like 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And I'm like, nah, man,
I guess take a nap or something.
Yeah. I mean, so my plan's not actually to go do any partying, not at least before the ceremony, but my plan is to go and hit as many of my old eating spots as I can. And so, one of the things that, trying to always research stuff, one of the things I want to do is I need to go back and dig a little bit more deeper into Italian beef. We got an awesome house jardiniere that recipe that I came up with, but we had been using when we had extra brisket on Sunday. And so part of that, having enough inventory to have protein throughout the whole day, typically at the end of service on Saturday that go unsold, and we can maintain them in hot hold one more night and they taste perfectly fine. The downside to that is when you slice them, the oxidation is horrific. And so we don't do, and sometimes the fat cap gets a little squirrely. And so the aesthetic is not the best. So on Sunday, we will only sell chopped brisket, no sliced, since it's not, day prior fresh. And so, so when we had that, we went a few weeks where we had no extra brisket. So I kind of had to stop this, but we had that Chicago chopped brisket Italian beef dip where we made a really good getting hungry now.
Same one. So am I. Not you.
With with our beef rib bones that didn't get sold, we would make a beef stock out of it, and then we'd use that beef stock to make the Italian au jus for the dip with the house jardiniere. But one of the things I hope to do while I'm in Chicago is find one of these little hole in the wall Italian beef places that kind of walk me through their process. I think for the Windy City Smokeout, I think Evan and I think Brotherton, and I think somebody else actually did that with a couple of these Italian beef joints where they kind of got to walk through how
Oh,
they
wow.
did their Italian beef, and so that's my goal. I'm not, yeah. I hope after the ceremony I'm in full party mode, and get it
Yeah.
crazy. But
Yeah.
before that, a little bit of business. Got to get some good Chicago food.
Cool.
I haven't had good deep dish pizza in forever.
Thank you again,
Cool.
sir. Good talking to you always. Great talking to you.
Yeah, man. Peace, Kevin.
All right, peace. Bye.